I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Kenny is with us tonight, village attorney. Welcome him also. If we can, the approval of the agenda for tonight.
Mr. President, I'm going to ask my question. Can we have the real life walk the hearings added to the agenda?
No, we're still caught in litigation and under the advisement of our attorney. No, we will not tell you about it. So, with that said, the approval of tonight's agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda for August 10th, 2015.
Support?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Horton.
No.
No.
McCaffrey.
Present? Here?
Yes.
Yes?
Maury.
Yes.
Vic. Baldwin.
Yes.
Horton. Just like you did.
We can move on now to the treasurer's report, which is tonight's purple sheet. Oh, excuse me. All right through there. The approval of our minutes from the regular council meeting from July the 13th, 2015.
I just have one question before we approve these. How come there's no discussion on the motions, whether they're yea or nay on them? Going back, looking at some years past, used to be discussion of the 3-2 vote. There would at least be some small dialogue on what was spoke on motions and whatnot after, it'd be seconded and whatnot. Recently, I just don't see any discussion on motions.
If you would like to, I'll make sure that we do that. See to it that we have opportunity to speak prior to the motion.
Be something's not in the minutes that you want in there or think is incorrect, this is the time to do it right now.
No, I'm not trying to correct any of them.
No, I know.
Okay.
But that's what the discussion would be about. Correct, that's what you have.
Right. So, I mean, going forward, we just have light discussion attached to the motions is what I missed.
Okay, let's go on. The approval of the minutes.
Make a motion we approve the minutes from July 13th, 2015.
I'll support that. Roll, please.
McCaffrey.
Yes.
Maury.
Yes.
Vic.
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes. Now we can do my treasurer's report, the purple sheet, my favorite color. Any questions, comments? If not, I am looking for a motion.
Make a motion we approve the treasurer's report for August 10th, 2015.
I'll support it. Now, do we have any further discussion? Roll call, please.
McCaffrey.
Yes.
Maury.
Yes.
Vic.
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes. The bills and transfer, be the green sheet.
The only question I have, the general fund due to sewer fund, what do we move from general to sewer? Sewer fund seems to be a pretty big fund if we ever get it.
Which I don't
I'm
know.
on the front page, I don't know, about 3/4 of the way down, general fund due to sewer fund for $1,200.
Well, you'll see on the next page is that general fund received money from the major minor roads. It's just transfers, not transfers, but if a bill is paid out of the sewer fund, they like the entire amount in that particular case, the sewer fund would owe general fund.
Oh, so we pay everything out of the general fund, and then whatever it's supposed to come out of, it's transferred from that fund to the general, and then the checks get cut from that.
No,
Oh.
but in some cases, that is how it's done.
Okay.
Now, each fund usually writes its own check, but if there's a split amount between, like for the auditor or something like that, then it would be a due to fund.
Thank you.
Any comments? I'll make a motion then that we accept as presented bills and transfer.
Support.
Now, do we have any other discussion? Anything else? Roll call, please.
We'd have to be,
Yes.
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Yes. First segment of public comment. This is where we try to keep it to items that are on the agenda. Anybody? No one? Then let's move right on into the unfinished business, the Genesee County Sheriff's Department. Any questions? Any discussion?
This motion to accept the report.
Yeah, maybe I need to do that. Number two, the reports from the street administrator, 911, water and waste, park and recs.
I really don't have anything.
911?
911, just to report that the director, Mr. Failing, died last week. The bee sting, wasp sting, so everybody be careful out there. And we're still working on the 911 merger with the city of Flint. Water and waste, we haven't had our regular meetings for that. People, Parks and Recs, we had our second meeting last week, went very well. The committee is reviewing the master plan, and we'll have discussions on that at the next meeting. And if there's somebody that wants to become a member of that committee, we never set a number of people, so if they want to approach and fill out an application, I'll just bring it back to you guys. If that's how you want to do it. But I guess,
Sir? Please. Anything else?
not on that, no.
Code enforcement. David's not
I put his time sheet in just so that you can get an idea of what, and I will do it from now on, what types of calls he goes out on, how they get resolved. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer for you.
Are these things that he has wrote a violation on, or these things he went and inspected and then the violation may come later?
We very rarely write violations on anything because he tries to talk to people and get them to resolve what the issue is. And so far, he's been 100%.
He's doing a very good job. Administrative.
All right, Emma, in case anybody's noticed, we've been out on Clarence Street to look at, there's a drain that needs some repair out there. We don't have any final answers on anything, but just to let the council know that there's a, if you see us walking near the fire station, we were notified by the state that we are going to get approximately a little over $19,000 from the general fund like we did last year that will go into the road fund. We've got our insurance renewal for Blue Cross Blue Shield at this point. It's went down 3.95% or $2,276. I need to have a special meeting called. I've been getting proposals from companies that can handle our property insurance. So if we could schedule something the week of the 24th, our insurance, the new policy year begins September 1st. I still have a couple more that I'm waiting for to come in. Just to let people know that Smokin' Jay's has applied for a liquor license. We don't really have anything to say about whether or not they get approved or not. If you want to make a motion to be in support of it, you can, or you don't have to do anything. I've had different requests in for some ordinance changes as far as people in the village would like to raise chickens and dispensary for pot dispensary. So I'm looking to see if we want to have further discussions on that, or you want me to have the planning commission take a look at those last two items. And we can go back and set up the meeting and answer any questions you might have about the other items that I just talked about.
Discussion, anyone?
For my thought would be for the last two items that were on there, I think the planning commission would be a good spot to start. If maybe we could have some information from other cities or villages that have those in place already, just to review and see what they have, would be my thought.
I can get that. I know Davidson has chickens and dispensaries. Couple other areas. Any other questions, or can we look at setting up that meeting?
Let's look at the date for setting up that meeting.
Is this just for the property insurance? Or is this for the Blue Cross Blue Shield as well?
No, it's just,
It's got to be before September 1st?
yes. I'm hoping to get them all in by the mid part of next week so that I can review them and make notes. And I think I have four that are coming in.
Monday the 24th?
What time?
It works for everybody. I could be here.
That entire week, I'm away for training for my job, so I won't be available that week.
Okay.
The 31st, is that enough time? I think that's the day before you gotta have it in.
About the week
Well, I
before
can,
that.
we just have to make a motion to approve it. It doesn't give time to go back and ask questions or something like that.
The week before I'm in Frankfurt.
You're gone the 24th too?
No, the 16th through the 22nd.
Okay. Well, we can schedule it the 31st, and I can get synopsis or something of each one of the proposals to you ahead of time, and then you'll have more information, and then you can make a decision that day. If that works.
Do you want to email? Could you email them to her so she'd have a chance to review them?
Yeah.
So what time on that day?
Is that on a Monday? or-
31st would be a Monday.
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
Later afternoon would be better unless you guys really need it in the morning.
5 o'clock?
It's 5 o'clock, probably better for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I could
still gotta
take,
work.
yeah, I could take leave. I would
No,
prefer not
I
to,
think so.
but,
No.
You're every other Monday,
yeah,
right?
every other Monday.
5:30, is that better for you?
Oh, 5 o'clock works for me.
Okay, 5 o'clock on the 31st? Okay. And I'll get you some other areas to review what their ordinances are on those two. And as far as Smokin' Jay's, it's up to you whether you want to make a motion of support or you don't have to do anything. State's going to do what they want to do anyway.
We basically don't have a call. We basically don't have a dog in the fight, that's all.
No. That's all I had on administrative.
Sidewalks.
In the package, and I know it's on the agenda, so I'm not gonna go into details on it, but there was a meeting on the 21st with the drain commissioner. The concerns that I have is reading this and then reading the paper, it looks like that there was a proposal that was decided on.
No, by us. We didn't know
It was-
anything about
it was-
it. I didn't know anything
So
about
you
it.
want to bring it up under your public comments on the council comments, I'll discuss it. Let's move on through this.
Well, the last thing that I was saying, I guess doesn't need to be in discussion, there's no proposal. When there's meetings like this taking place, it would be nice if all council members knew of this, not so much for the attendance purposes, but to maybe be able to throw our administrator or yourself an email for questions that they may have on the conservative project that can get addressed and then filter back out to the process. I'm not a big fan of how this whole thing went down, but you guys know how to express that.
Communications, great kid. Call me anytime.
Right, but if I don't know of a meeting, there's nothing for me to call or ask on.
Every week or so, give me a buzz and see what's happening. Come into the office and see what's.
I thought we paid administrator.
That's what everybody wants to hear.
Let's move on, sidewalks.
I don't have anything to report unless anybody else does. There's a couple areas in the village that they'll be working on shortly.
I guess Mr. McKinney's turn here, right? Jerry?
Yeah, I only have a couple of comments tonight. With regard to the litigation, we've had 6 depositions canceled because one of my colleagues has some serious health issues and can't work. So as a result, there's an understanding that when the attorney is able to come back to work, we'll resume scheduling, and we always begin with a teleconference and clear dates for completing discovery and depositions. But pretty much the last couple of weeks, we've not been doing anything because of this illness. I think I reviewed and submitted to council, and maybe you had an opportunity to review a code of conduct or ethical conduct proposal. I think it was very good, and there are some things I would suggest be changed, but they're strictly form only. Substantively, it was really a fine document. I think it was received from Michigan Municipal League, and did an excellent job of not just talking about the propriety of certain conduct, and not just talking about the propriety of communication between staff and elected officials and the public. For instance, who's authorized to make public statements at what time. But it did a really good job of clarifying lines of communication for persons who are volunteers, elected to office, and entering what is sometimes kind of a mystifying area of when do you say and what can you say and how should you say it. But it just did a very, very good job, I think, and with a little, I saw typos is all I saw that should be clarified, and then for your consideration, if you have any questions. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Are we going to talk about the roads? I know that we.
Mr. President, are we going to discuss the conduct? Is that under new business?
That's under new business.
Okay, so that's when we have the questions answered. Thanks, sir.
The idea about the roads, did we bring anything about discussing the roads?
I do have one more thing under administrative though, if we can back up first 1 second.
Let's back up then.
They're having an event over at Yellow Dog on the 25th and 26th, and they've asked if they could use our parking lot for overflow parking. And my answer to them was, we rent that out to the village residents, and if there's not, somebody did not reserve this room on those dates, that I didn't feel the council would have a problem with it. So I'm just bringing it to you to get verification that overflow can be parked here, but the practice is not to withhold renting it out to a resident to allow a commercial venture to take place. if everybody's in agreement, then I will just get back to the individual in charge of it.
I'm in agreement with it, because last time they had an event, they were parked all the way to Eagle Road and Erie Street. All on the road, so they had a lot of people there.
We know, the week before, whether or not we're gonna have anybody. Sometimes we get last minute. Normally they book months in advance, but if I don't have anything to the middle of the week, then I'll give her a call. I'll give her a tentative answer and then give her a call. Everybody in agreement?
You might?
Yeah, there's really.
Okay, sorry, I forgot that one.
Now, the roads, you talk about
We
the
have to
roads.
purchase a couple things first.
Those are number 9.
That was talking.
7.
Fine, okay.
The purchase of the salt spreader.
When we were talking about the budget, getting prepared for everything, I gave you bids that we got from other community or other businesses, and the decision was made to buy the salt spreader from Flint, New Holland. I just need a motion to that effect. $6,681.
Is the old one not working?
Right.
It's pretty well wore out, it's like 10 years old. Salt gets to it. This one here also has a benefit that we can leave it on all year, and you can use it for spreading gravel and stuff on the shoulders. So you don't have to do it with the front end loader.
It's allocated in the budget.
Was there, and I was trying to go back through, this was the only price that we had for one, we didn't give them 3 bids?
We had another one from Howell, and another one from Napai. And this was the one that council decided on because it was in the area. We have to drive to Howell. The price between Howell and this was $30. $6,657 versus $66.81. So when council reviewed everything, this is the one that they chose. I'm looking for the motion to support the number in the budget.
I make a motion that we support New Holland for $6,681 for the new spreader.
Support.
Any other discussion?
We need a spreader, you're saying the other one doesn't work.
Roll call, please.
McCafferty,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
The next one is line painting contract. M&M pavement marking, their total was $27,1278. And there are not that many places that do line painting. PK was the other one that gave us a bid for $6,028.40. We've used M&M before, and they're pretty easy to work with as far as fitting it in with the timeline that we need to have. This is also in budget, but it's up to you whether you want to continue and go forward with line painting. There are still lines out there. They're not very distinct at this time. It's a safety factor. So we haven't done it for probably 5 years. Time to do it again, especially with all the crack sealing and patching and things that we've done. So I'm looking for a motion, if that's your pleasure, to approve the contract with M&M Pavement Marking.
I'll make a motion to support with M&M pavement marking.
I'll support it. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
McCafferty,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
Now, clarify something before we go on.
Please.
Mr. Vick had mentioned free bids, and he's mentioned it before as well as others. We go out to try to get bids, as many as we could possibly get from area businesses, or in some cases out top. We can't force somebody to bid. If we ask for 3 bids, we ask for 4 bids, and we get 1, that's your decision whether or not you want to go with that. We don't have to have 3 bids, we have to solicit them, but you don't have to have 3 in your hand. Just for clarification.
And that's all I was asking this.
Yeah, I understand, I just wanted to clarify that. Sometimes it gets muddy.
Okay, now we
Okay.
can move on to roads.
I'm done.
Now on to roads, please.
Mr. Vick at the last meeting had mentioned that he would like to talk about Goodrich Meadows, and we have been talking about roads in general and going out to talk to different communities. So the best way to put it on there, I thought, and talk to Mark about it, was roads in general, and can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
If I could get Mr. McKinney to go over once again how you fund the road repairs.
There's really only 2 ways. One is to fund road repairs through the general fund, but the more typical way is to fund it through special assessment for the property owner whose property is improved by the road improvement, whose the value of the property is improved. As a matter of fact, the test is whether the property owner receives a benefit of the cost of the improvement. That has to be the grounds for a special assessment. That's the typical fashion in which road improvements are done, and it's felt that spreading the cost out over the whole village is not fair, because people who aren't benefited from the road improvement end up paying it. The problem in Goodrich Meadows arises from the fact that the Great Recession, with the Great Recession, we had a number of developers who did not finish projects, and they're out of business. The entity that developed the property is no longer around, and there's no practical means of squeezing blood out of that rock in terms of going after the developers. So it shifts back to the municipality and to make a decision as to the best method for paying for the road improvement, either through general fund or through special assessment. As I say, it's most common, it's through special assessment. And Jackie, I can't remember the last time we did a special assessment, but it's a multi-step process. But there are 2 public hearings. There are 2 public hearings with a special assessment. You identify the project, and then you determine the cost, and then have I think the second special hearing has to do with spreading the cost and determining it. And it's typically bonded, so the improvement is made immediately, and then the cost of the project is paid out over a term of years, most typically. I was having, I thought, good communication with the attorney for the owner of the Goodrich Meadows properties, but when I last called him, he said he didn't think he was their attorney anymore. That's how he characterized it. So I've not heard from him. I was soliciting a response from him because we were having some good discussions, and he said he was no longer hearing from that client in terms of moving forward on some improvements for the Goodrich Meadows property. But there's still a property owner, and if there's a special assessment, that property owner would pay its proportionate share. Any questions, any specific questions about the funding process?
And I guess I was under the impression that some of the residents that came in here last time felt that they were already assessed once when they purchased the property to have the roads, have a final layer put down on the roads. So I think with some of this information that's coming out, they're gonna, I don't wanna speak for them, but I was kinda asked you, they kinda feel like they're gonna get double hit with an assessment for something they already paid for, and now they gotta pay for it again.
Well, clearly, I don't know what happened, I know what happened with this final coat, but it wasn't applied. I don't know that there was ever any money that was ever set aside from a purchase for that, though. You buy your home and you buy it as is with the improvements, with the understanding that roads don't last forever. There's going to have to be something done to the curbing and the guttering eventually, whether it's 20 years or 25 years. These structures don't last forever, and there has to be some improvement, and it's typically done by special assessment. You can say I paid for my house, I expected to have a road. Understandably, there was a road there, but nobody paid a contractor to apply that final coat because it wasn't done.
No, and again, my impression that I had was the purchasing of the property, having the house built, that was all part of the assessment, or the price was in there for the final grade to be put on. And I would agree with your point, once the road is, or a subdivision is finished, and there is a final coat on there, in 20 years, 30 years down the road, it needs to be done. Yes, I would agree an assessment would have to be done, but when something was never finished to begin with, and now they gotta pay to have their own stuff finished, I think that's where they're gonna be coming in with a lot.
And I would say you could shift that cost to the developer if he was still viable. But you can't shift that cost anywhere else. You could shift it to the general taxpayer, but that's generally not done. So you're talking about an improvement which has specific benefit for homeowners on the street, and they're saying, I don't want to pay for it. Okay. But they want it done. Who's going to pay for it? If it was a viable developer, you'd have an argument. The Village of Holly was very successful. Not very successful. In fact, it was expensive. It took a long time. They were successful at recovering some money from a large developer who's still in business. But there's no cost shift here that I see that's available to the homeowners. I'd say go ahead, sue the developer. There's not even a viable entity anymore. They're no longer registered with the state of Michigan. And the developers moved on to different projects with a different entity. So it's a more practical question about how do you make the improvement that's necessary? What's the improvement that's necessary, which is not my decision, that's one for the engineers. But then the village's decision is how do you make the improvement? How do you pay for it? How do you spread the cost?
Just for clarification, the village did not special assess anybody. And the one gentleman that had mentioned that he got a special assessment and he had paperwork for it, we followed it back through to
The title
the title company, and they made an error on there and called it a special assessment for, I think it was supposed to be sewer or something in the closing documents. So if the developer collected any money through an association, which I don't believe he had an association, again, like Mr. McKinney said, it would be the developer they would go after as far as payment of any money.
This is a common problem, and there are a lot of site condominiums that were developed, and the developer was to turn the site condominium homeowners association over to the homeowners, and that was never done. And we can guess as to what the status of those homeowners associations is. And how can you enforce your building regulations in the condominium? How can you enforce those if you don't have a homeowners association? I don't know what the status of those developments are, or the status of the homeowners association, or the rules that they adopted. There are rules out there on the books that I wonder if they have any viability, because there never was a homeowners association organized by the developer and turned over to the homeowners.
Just for clarification, isn't those associations normally organized once the project's done?
Typically, they're organized by the developer and at a tipping point, and it's usually a percentage or number of the lots sold It's then the developer's obligation to turn the association over to the homeowners association. And there are probably hundreds of condominiums where that was never done.
Wouldn't that association also have to get the approval, being in the village? Because, you know, you could have outrageous rules and they want to have a bunch of chicken farms in there. We don't even have any rules for chicken farms, but in that association, they're saying, yeah, we can have that in here.
Well, they, typically, they're design rules that they have. They're not use rules and zoning regulation. It's typically design rules about the amount of stone you have to have on your building, no vinyl. There's a lot of building restrictions, but it's typically not use. And I know there are a lot of condominiums out there that have a really beautiful rule book, and I'm wondering if they can even be enforced now. There's no association. And there's a lot of empty lots, and
But I guess with this discussion with the association, do you normally see road maintenance other than snow removal that is paid by, you know, the homeowners and whatnot, actually have rules stated in there that they're responsible for putting a second coat or
No.
repairing the road?
typically road improvement is done through municipal bonding.
We don't allow private roads, so when they do their master deed, the roads are then assigned to the village. And that's what happened in all these.
This was touched upon in my letter several months ago. And I hear it repeatedly in many discussions, that you have the developer bond for the completion of the road. But that bond is only, it's an instrument that is only good for 12 months and is guaranteed by the developer. Meaning if they call in the bond because the developer didn't finish it, the bond application, the developer says, if you pay on this, I will pay you, insurance company. There is no pot of gold put somewhere that says this will be finished. It's just a contract. So when the developer goes belly up, he's not renewing the bond. And he doesn't have the wherewithal to fill out the application to say, yes, I have the financial wherewithal to guarantee you, insurance company, that if you pay on this bond, I will reimburse you. Because that's what the bond contract is. It is not money set aside to guarantee the work's going to be done. So with a failed developer, there's no bond. There's no chance for a bond.
Going back to the chicken farm, they have to meet our zoning requirements. They can be more strict than we are as far as we have a minimum size of a house in their subdivision. They can say they want to be 12,000 square feet, and we say it can be 8,000 square feet, something like that. They can be more restrictive, but if they don't have that association in place, like Mr. McKinney said, there's nobody that's going to enforce it. But in our ordinance right now, for instance, you can't have a chicken farm, you can't have this, you can't have that. So they have to meet our requirements no matter what they are, and they could be more restrictive in what they record. And at that point, again, it's up to the developer to enforce that part of it.
Other discussion?
I think Mr. Boland was the only one that really enforced this. He did not like political signs. There was none in his subdivision. He took them down. But his health's got bad.
I guess my last question would be then, is the village gonna hand out some sort of information to that subdivision on their options for,
All of the subdivisions,
I mean, it's gonna go out there?
all of them. get their input on what they see, how they want to go about it. You know, form their own little committee, make them aware. If you want to help on it, I'd like to help. Anything else? New business, please. This is the code of conduct for elected officials. Discussion.
Jeff, you gonna go over it, or are we just opening the floor?
Becky, you
I'm
wanna go
not
over
going
this?
over it.
Okay.
That's why I sent it to you.
I guess my first question, are you looking for a motion to adopt this today?
Oh, perhaps.
If council feels comfortable doing it.
Like the
I know
language.
this is the first time that it's hit the full board. It's something that's been worked on for a long time. And it's here either for adoption or to postpone until you've had more time to read it over, or not, that's up to council, however you want to do it.
Mr. McKinney, do you have any input on this?
No, you know, it's a substantial document, so if you wanted to postpone taking the action, I could understand why you'd want to perhaps discuss specific items. But overall, I thought it's a very well-crafted document, and it really clarifies the duties of the council person and those occasions when the council person may want to pause before instructing a DPW employee what to do or what not to do, chain of command, which is excellent for any organization to have an understanding as to what's to be done in that regard.
I guess one of my thoughts were questions I got for the sanctions that can be handed out, I guess, to an officer or an employee that's in here. I even tried to go on the MML website too and pull up code of conduct for officers. The only thing I could find on there was the ethical code enforcement, so to speak, and it's like a 80-some page document. So just trying to put the two and two together, it looks like some of this in here is from our charter, and some of this looks like it might have been taken out of the ethics part and maybe put in here and integrated a little bit. But for on the sanctions part on there, I mean, there's a lot of good Q&A in here. Should the group that will have responsibility for enforcement be part of the municipal organization, or should it be an independent municipality? Who makes up that organization? Are they going to be on payroll? I mean, this is a lot of document to go over. I mean, I guess I would kind of ask, why is this coming out now?
This is something that we've been working on for a while. The Attorney General, MML, you know, this is taken out of a little bit of both of them, isn't it? From the Attorney General and Michigan Municipal League.
Somebody else has adopted it.
But if everyone feels that they need a little more time to go over it, you know, and there are probably some valid questions that we probably ought to look into.
I guess I would just ask before we decide to go in here and maybe not even bring this, I don't really want to say a workshop, we're going to bring this up at the next one, but a good piece of literature to look at is the ethics portion of this. It has a lot of the questions in here that I think that need to be looked at and investigated and possibly have answers before we go forth with this. I'm not necessarily against this. I mean, I think it's always a good idea to have, you know, these kind of systems in place for one another. But there's a lot of questions to be had, and I don't really know that, you know, I think we should have more material before we decide to vote on this.
Is that a motion to postpone?
Yes, that was a motion to postpone.
Do you want to postpone it to a date specific, like when we talked about the insurance, or the next council meeting?
It's a month away, that should be enough time.
We could, how about we put it on the agenda for the next council meeting, and if we have further questions or discussions, we can always Unless you guys are
You
really
can
trying to
still
get.
postpone.
Yeah.
You can still postpone
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you can postpone for the next 3 meetings if you like. It's,
Unless
that
you
way
guys
you
are-
can
What's the
keep dis-
motion?
That way you can keep discussing it. Right now, you have a motion to postpone until the next meeting. If you discuss it and decide you're not ready yet, postpone it again and discuss it some more. It's a lot to go over.
A lot to go over.
I'll support a postponement, because it is a lot to go over.
That was, you support? Okay.
Further discussion? Been supported. Any more other discussion? You good? Roll call, please.
McCafferty?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Baldwin?
Yes.
Then we can email our questions to you or to you and Jackie for clarification, or do you want us just to go through Jackie?
Let's go through Jackie. If nothing else, public comment. And once again, I'm going to remind everyone, please, 3 minutes, no personal attacks. Whoever's first.
Teresa Allen, I'm going to start first by this code of conduct. It says for elected officials. My question is, what about for those that are appointed to the zoning board, planning commission, or any other committee that you appoint that aren't necessarily elected? I think that's something that really needs to be looked into, given some recent circumstances. And I wanted to follow up, when I had talked last month, I had brought up the village website and the minutes. They still have not been updated, and I checked about a week ago on the Facebook comments. We had 38 Facebook posts, but our website is not updated. We don't have, hold on, I took snapshots, so I can give you exact dates. I went on there to look, and under the agenda, not for the current month that is posted on there, but when you go to, I forgot what it's called, but all of you guys are listed on there. The last agenda posted was April 17th, 2015. And for the minutes still that I brought to your attention last month, the last minutes were from June 29th, 2015. And like I said before, I think Facebook is nice, everyone's on it, it's great to, get those posts out there. But this is our village website. I really think it should be updated. Thank you.
Patricia Wartella. Mr. Baldwin, I know that every month it's asked if you put the Wheelock Watkins drain on the agenda, and you say no because it's under litigation. The Wheelock Watkins drain isn't under litigation. It's a project. So I don't think that by you refusing to have that on the agenda for discussion, for the public to know what's going on, it is not under litigation. There's a lawsuit, but the Wheelock Watkins drain is going through. So I disagree with you. The second thing on the agenda was salt spreader. That old salt spreader, if it's not usable or you put it up for sale, I would suggest that we do it legally in the respect that it goes through an auction. We get receipts, we know who it's sold to, we know who buys our equipment, just like, trucks, equipment, any type of things that we have with the DPW that are worth money to the public, to our taxpayers. We need to have documentation. And as far as the Goodrich metals that you were discussing, I do have a question regarding that. And Mr. McKinney, you were discussing that too, given your opinion on that. If there was a bond and it was taken out, and that bond was taken out by that developer, and they had 12 months to complete that, was there a stipulation with that, meaning after so many homes, then it would have been, the final cap on that road would have been completed?
No,
There isn't?
there
There
was
wasn't?
nothing about the cab being completed, no.
There was not.
If there was a bond, it was, I'm not sure there was a bond. The suggestion was that there should have been a bond, because that would have resolved the issue. It would not have resolved the issue with a defaulting contractor. No way.
Then that leads me to this question to you, okay? You talk about other developments, and they have deed restrictions that are registered at the county.
I didn't say that, but what's your question?
No, that's what I said. It leads this to the next question. If there are deed restrictions on properties, meaning other developments in the village, and there are deed restrictions, are those not to be adhered to?
Well, deed restrictions are to be adhered to, but who enforces them?
Who does? That's the question.
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
And
Some deed restrictions can't be enforced. They're illegal.
so if a deed and we can get humor out of that, but the question I have is, a development that pays for deed restrictions to be registered at the county, it costs money to do, correct? To register that, and to have deed restrictions in place for a development. And then the village in turn has to have those restrictions on file, is that correct, for
No.
development?
No, they're private deed restrictions. And I'm not trying to be funny, I have the same question you do. And there is no answer to it, I don't believe. Who, if you're in a site condominium or even the old subdivisions, and you have rules to be enforced, somebody has to take the initiative, and it takes money to enforce those. And with the Great Recession, a lot of those rules have gone by the wayside. And I don't know if they're ever going to be enforced. They're beautiful rules, and they're beautiful books. I don't know if they'll ever be enforced. But it doesn't devolve to the village to enforce them, because they're not village regulations. They're private regulations.
So, okay, then if a developer or say a builder goes into a sub with lots available, and they know, or they've been told that there are deed restrictions, and those restrictions are available at the county, but they're not presented from the village, then it's up to the homeowners that live in that sub to enforce it?
Typically it's a well-designed. The developer runs the homeowners association until that tipping point when there's enough homeowners to run it, and then it is a handoff, and it's very civilized. The rules are in place, the handoff is to the homeowners. That didn't happen during the Great Recession. So that's why it's hard to know, because it was well designed and well thought out and it worked. But when the developers went belly up and there were no homeowners associations to hand off the organization to, I don't know what the result is, but it goes everywhere. It's going on everywhere.
Katie Vick, Green Road. Since we have the attorney here, I'm wondering if it might be possible to get an update on the new lawsuits. When I was looking online, it looked like those new FOIA lawsuits, we had 2 attorneys on file, and I was wondering if Mr. McKinney will be stepping down to let just the insurance pay for it, or if...
I'm not involved at all.
So you'll be off of
My
that?
name is on it, and the attorney asked me to leave my name on it, but I'm not involved at all.
Okay. And then my other thing is, I'd like to see the council look into the personnel policy that was brought up during the budget. Seems like that kind of just fell by the wayside, and there was definitely a lot of things that should have been clarified in that policy that weren't being followed in the past, that should probably be. And another point I wanted to step on, or touch on, was I find it alarming when you say things like, this has been in the works for a while, or we've discussed this outside of these meetings. The whole intent of a council meeting is for us to be witness of the conversation. When you say you've been working on this code of ethics for a while, that would have been really nice for the rest of us to know you're having talks about it. maybe we could have offered some information, some tips, some resources to help. Finding out about it the day you're trying to pass something isn't the way this is intended to function. It's supposed to be presented as, this is something we need to start looking into, let's put it on the agenda for next month to discuss it. And it's like you kind of just rushed in the 11th hour to do something and pass it. I'd like to see us start to properly plan. I think that would be a huge asset to our village to plan properly.
Anything else? Council comments? Mr. Cassidy? Mr. Moore?
One thing I did forget, uptown, we do have a nest of honeybees in the trees up there. The tree's not ours, so we really can't do anything with it. It's kinda quieted down, we have the signs there. There was a big swarm went in there and they decided to take over that old walnut tree. Really, we could get somebody to hang a nest up there, but we'd be on private property. And, so we're just kinda watching it as they become a pest. Being honeybees, we don't really wanna kill them because there's not that many of them left. And, they seem to be going in and out, they're not bothering anybody at the moment, so.
I have a friend who does honey. He could come out and remove those if you guys wanted.
Pardon me?
I have a friend that has honeybee hives.
Yeah.
He could come out and move those. He'd probably come out. He'd want to take those from you if you wanted.
If he thinks he can get them,
Are they up high?
no, they're in there about, it's about 4.5 by feet,
Oh yeah. He'd
but
probably,
they got 2 holes in there. So.
yeah. I'll talk to him about it.
There was probably when we first got a call, there had to be 1,000 on there.
Mhm.
But that's when they moved in. Now you only see maybe 15
Yeah.
or 20 going in and out. They're
Mhm.
doing their work.
I'll talk to him about it. Give him a ring. See about it.
You would have to make sure you contact the homeowner though.
Okay.
The homeowner would let him hang with one of them up high. He could get them, but
Mhm.
I tried dealing with a homeowner about 6 years ago to get that whole tree out of there. He wanted nothing to do with it. So
Oh yeah. Well,
taking it down now is pretty expensive. It's hanging over the house.
2 things tonight I can touch on real quickly is the meetings, the minutes. They can't be posted until we vote on them and accept them. So there's going to be a lag time each month. As far as the agenda post, I will look into that. But they can't post the minutes until we
Right,
accept
but
them.
it's been 2 months, is all.
I'll
I'm
look
just,
into
July.
that. We would have just approved this July one, yes. So June would have been the last one that would have been on there, correct?
but yeah, check the agenda. It's like
I
on
will
the
do that.
homepage, there's a link that, but it currently just shows like what today's agenda was. You have to go where it says meeting schedule and you click on that, and I don't know why the agendas are even posted under meeting schedule or whatever it is, but that's where they're at, and it only goes to April. But we've updated, Ms. Cafferty's name is on council as well as Mr. Vick, so that's been updated.
I'll talk to her.
Thank you.
Motion.
Make a motion we adjourn. Or
You did well, 59 minutes.
We're gonna get out of everybody's way.